Truth, a show where we try to get into some of the mysteries, anomalies, and a bit of the dirty underbelly of the world around us. I'm your host, Paul, and this week we have a guest, Dr. Sam Osmanagich. Dr. Sam, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, thank you so much for coming. We do appreciate it. And along for the ride are a couple of my friends, Melody and Neil. Melody, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, ready to go.
And Neil.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay, well, let's get going. Dr. Sam, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about the Bosnian pyramids?
Gladly. My name is Dr. Sam Osmanagich. I am anthropology professor and director of the Center for Archaeology at the American University in Bosnia and Herzegovina. My PhD is in Mayan civilization. I authored 15 books about the ancient civilizations. I discovered the Bosnian pyramids back in 2005. And since then, it has become the most active archaeological site in the world. Every year, 400 to 500 volunteers, tens of experts, scientific conferences, is becoming also the most exciting archaeological project in the world. I've traveled all around the world several times, and I have visited the most interesting archaeological site in the world, from Japan and China to Peru, Bolivia, Mesoamerica, Canary Islands, Africa, Mauritius, and so on. And I've been dealing with the pyramids in specific, and I have concluded that they are not built only in Egypt and Mexico, like they've been teaching us wrong. They are built on all 6 continents, 250 of them in China, 300 in Peru, tens of thousands in Mesoamerica, Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Belize, but also on the islands like Canary Islands or Mauritius, Sudan, 224 of them, Egypt, 155. Shortly, the world of the past was the world of the pyramids. In April of 2005, I first came to the central Bosnian town of Visoko, just 20 miles northwest from the capital city of Sarajevo. Not because of the pyramids, but to visit the local museum. And then I saw this hill with 4 sides, triangular faces, obvious corners, the same slope from the bottom to the top, 4 sides meeting at apex. I took compass, and compass showed me that the sides of the hill perfectly match cardinal points, east, west, north, and south. And that's how the pyramids were built in China, Mexico, Guatemala, or other countries. Now, when we think about the pyramids, we usually think about the Egyptian pyramids, but they are in desert, they are in south, they are visible. But most of them, like all Chinese, all Cahokia pyramids in states, most of the Mexican or Guatemalan, they are deep in the jungle, in the forests, after thousands of years. And the same thing in Bosnia. Since 2005, we started excavation. We have spent over 350,000 hours in archaeological digging, sample testing, lab analysis, and radiocarbon dating. And we have concluded that in the town of Visoko, we have at least 5 pyramidal structures, which I named the Pyramids of the Sun, Moon, Dragon, Earth, and Love, with a huge network of prehistorical tunnels and chambers, and the whole valley I named the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. And shortly, in the beginning, I just want to say that this project is bringing 7 elements that will forever change our way we view the ancient history. Number 1, these are the first pyramids in Europe. Number 2, they are the biggest, the largest on the planet. Number 3, the orientation of the sides towards the cardinal points is the most precise on the planet. Number 4, when we start removing the layers of soil from the Pyramid of the Sun, we are finding blocks. We've analyzed them at 7 Institute for Materials. They all told us it was so-called geopolymer cement, concrete. Number 5, these are the oldest pyramids on the planet. Number 6, below them, is the most extensive underground tunnel network. And finally, number 7, in those tunnels, we've been discovering a huge ceramic blocks. Some of them are reaching 4, 8 tons, even 25 tons, or over 50,000 pounds. So those 7 elements will forever change really the way we view the ancient history.
Dr. Sam, thank you for that intro there.
You're welcome.
I have a question. How old do you think these pyramids are?
In order to determine the age of the pyramid, we have used several methods. First of all, the pyramids in Bosnia are covered by soil. If we can figure out the age of the soil, we can get to the minimum age of the pyramid. The science that investigates the origin of soil is called pedology. In Bosnia, we have Institute for Agropedology. They took samples from the Sun and the Moon pyramid, and they concluded that the age of the soil was between 12 and 15,000 years, meaning the structures are much older. In summer of 2012, our Italian archaeologists Nicola Visconti and Riccardo Brett found a piece of organic material below the layers of soil and above the concrete block. That piece of organic material could give us, again, the minimum age of the structure. We sent it for the radiocarbon dating, C14 analysis in Kiev, Ukraine, and the age of that fossilized leaf was 24,800 years, plus minus 200 years. And that was still a minimum age of the structure. And finally, in the summer of 2013, our archaeological manager, Tim Moon from New Zealand, with his group of volunteers, discovered a piece of organic material between two layers of concrete blocks, between first and the second layer, like in a sandwich. Now, that piece of organic material could give us precise time of the construction. After radiocarbon dating, we got the date 29,200 years, plus minus 400 years. So at this point in time, this is the date that we use as the official age of the Bosnian pyramids. And of course, 29,000 years make them the oldest pyramidal structures on the planet.
Well, it's pretty amazing to think about. I've watched some of the videos on your website, or the website dedicated to the pyramids there, and the underground tunnel network looks quite amazing. Do you think was that like for a town, or what do you think those tunnels were? What do you think was going on in that whole valley?
When I wrote my first book about the discovery in 2005, the only thing I could see by my naked human eyes were the two pyramids. They are very obvious, the shape and the geometry and the orientation. And in my first book, I wrote that we were going to discover a network of underground prehistorical tunnels. And I based that on my experience with Egyptian pyramids, Chinese or Mexican. For example, below one of the Egyptian pyramids in Saqqara, called Step Pyramid, there is a network of tunnels, 8 kilometers in radius, 5 miles radius, under just one pyramid. Then, of course, the tunnels are connecting the Giza pyramids with the Sphinx and River Nile. The tunnels are below Shanxi pyramids in the Chinese province. The tunnels are below Teotihuacan pyramids in Mexico. The tunnels are below Palenque pyramids, the Mayan city in Mexico. So the tunnels always come with the oldest, the biggest, and the most superior pyramids. In 2005, I discovered the entrance to the Bosnian pyramid tunnels, and in the meantime, we have cleaned about 1,100 meters, which is about 3,500 feet. It's a huge network, and so far it's probably less than 5% that we have cleaned and secured. What we are finding in those tunnels are at least two civilizations. The first one, who had technological knowledge, engineering skills to build a vast network of tunnels and chambers that runs for tens of miles. And the second civilization came much later, and we are finding some organic material in the fill-in material. What they decided to do was to seal off all those tunnels. And the second civilization is about 5,000 years old. So both civilizations knew how to manipulate with the huge quantities of materials. Now, when you ask me what was the purpose of tunnels, if you want to connect two objects underground, obviously you make one or two tunnels. But in our case, we have a huge network. It's a huge labyrinth. Of course, we concluded it was not for the communication purpose. It had to be something else. I think as soon as we get to the pyramid or under the pyramid using those tunnels, we should be able to tell more. But right now, by discovering 6 underground chambers between 300 and 500 square feet, by discovering huge ceramic blocks, 4, 8, even 25 tons, we've learned that the ancients had technology to make ceramic and most probably to maneuver with the energy flows.
What do you mean by maneuver with the energy flows? What are you thinking?
Well, the first few years of our project, we had our classical sciences like archaeology, Egyptology, geology, paleontology involved, then satellite, thermal analysis, and so on. But in order to figure out the true purpose of pyramids, we had to get support from the experts in energy phenomena, physicists, electrical engineers. They started coming with their scientific instruments and measuring certain energy phenomena. The first one to come was Dr. Slobodan Mizra from Zagreb, Croatia, who came in 2010 with his 10-member team and the instruments to measure electromagnetic fields. First, we went to the nearby hills, no anomalies. Then we went around the Sun Pyramid, no anomalies, until we came to the very top. And there, on the top, he detected and measured electromagnetic field of 28 kilohertz frequency, 13 feet in radius, which was continuous. Then he got out of this radius, no measurements. He went back in, the measurement was there. It meant that this electromagnetic field does not go left or right, but it goes up as some type of the energy beam. 3 months later, Serbian electrical engineer Goran Marjanovic came and he confirmed the readings. Later that summer, 2 more scientists from Finland and Italy confirmed the readings, which meant that if you have 4 or 5 independent teams getting at different times, coming with their own equipment and getting the same results, that they all scientifically verified this phenomenon. Which phenomenon? Existence of energy beam going through the top of the Sun Pyramid, 13 feet, 28 kilohertz frequency electromagnetism.
Is there anything significant about the 28 kilohertz?
Yes. First of all, in order to have this particular frequency, which is continuous and focused, obviously it is not Mother Nature who can make such energy beams. You have to have artificial source, a machine. Our conclusion was the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is not only the biggest pyramid on the planet, but at the same time, the biggest energy machine on the planet. Then, on the very top, Italian anthropologist Professor Paolo De Bertolus from University of Trieste measured another energy phenomenon. It was ultrasound. Ultrasound we cannot hear. We hear sound from 10 Hertz to 20 kilohertz. Everything about 20 kilohertz is called ultrasound. So he measured the ultrasound of the same frequency, 28 kilohertz, on the top of the Sun Pyramid, like ultrasound beam, like also an energy beam. Why is this frequency important? American Ralph Ring was experimenting with different frequencies of ultrasound, 21 kilohertz, 22, 23, 24. When he came to 28, he had a ping pong ball, a table tennis ball, above the source of the ultrasound. And at this particular frequency, 28 kilohertz, the ball started levitating. He went to bed, came back next morning, the machine was on all night, and the ball was still in the air. It meant that this frequency of 28 kilohertz is the best frequency for the levitation. How did ancients know that? So now we realized that the Sun Pyramid has been producing those frequencies of electromagnetism and ultrasound for extremely long time. And the same frequencies we've been measuring in the underground tunnels. And we measure them near those huge ceramic blocks. And then when we investigate further, we realize that those megaliths, they are always located above the underground water flows. When water moves, it releases the energy. And they would place those megaliths on top of it. The megaliths receive the energy. And then when we checked with the georadar inside those blocks, we found out that there were quartz crystal objects inside those blocks. So now what you have a technology. Water moves underground, releases the energy, hits the quartz crystal, it activates it, it is surrounded by ceramic, ceramic oscillates and produces electromagnetic field. And in the tunnels, We've been measuring two particular frequencies, 28 kilohertz, which I just mentioned, and another one, ultra low frequency, 7.83 hertz. In science, this low frequency is called Schumann resonance. Why is this important? Well, see, everything resonates in nature. Our planet resonates at 7.83. Plants, animals, humans. This is the best frequency for our physical, mental, intellectual abilities. And for millions of years, that was the only frequency on our planet until 1990. And then, thanks to the HARP project, thanks to the explosion of the cell phones, laptops, microwaves, a lot of bad electromagnetism is going to the ionosphere, and it's affecting the resonance of the planet. In 1994, our planet rose the resonance from 7.83 to 8.4. Every year after that, it was rising. In 2012, 14.5 hertz. In 2013, 15.1. This year, 16 hertz. And this is very bad. The higher the frequency, the more pressure and more stress on us. And when we go back to the Bosnian pyramid complex and in the tunnels, they have still the best frequency for us, 7.83. So it seems that the Bosnian pyramid complex not only changes the human history forever, but also it has the potential to change our future for better by producing the best energy fields for humans.
Dr. Sam,
Yes.
are you familiar with a gentleman by the name of Professor Hans Gianni?
No.
He was a fellow that studied the Schumann gauge resonance quite some time ago. And he did some fantastic experiments where he started off with a lab experiment where he has a frequency vibrating on a plate at 7.86 hertz. And he turns it all the way up to 13 hertz, where upon the whole geometric structure changes and morphs into another geometric design, but it flows in the opposite direction. And I'm wondering here, two things. One, have you noticed any effect on the health, mental, physical, emotional health of the people that live near the pyramid? And is there any way that this pyramid could be settling out around 13 hertz?
Well, we have done very extensive medical studies on what you just mentioned. We have realized that Bosnian pyramid discovery is not only the archaeological project or even only interdisciplinary scientific project. In order to understand it, we had to view it through not only physical dimension, but also energy, spiritual, and healing. When it comes to healing, we have realized through a lot of testimonies of the visitors, volunteers, researchers, that while in the tunnels they feel extremely good. For example, people come with asthma. They cannot breathe very well, but once they get inside the tunnels, they simply breathe excellent. When they get out, they don't need air pumps anymore. People come with the allergies. After one visit to the tunnels, the allergies are gone. People come with all kinds of pains, and pains are gone. So we wanted to find scientific explanation for what's happening there. Now, the existence of Schumann resonance, the original one, 7.83, is the one that can explain why we feel good in the energy field of the pyramid tunnels. But that was not enough. And then we measured the concentration of negative ions. As we know from the medical science, negative ions kill viruses and bacteria. Yes. In my office today, or in yours, the concentration is rather low, usually 1 to 200 per cubic centimeter. When we get to the downtown, 400. We go in the village, 800. We go by the river, 1,500. We go on the top of the mountain, 3,000. Well, in the Bosnian pyramid tunnels, the concentration is between 35 and 40,000 negative ions per cubic centimeter, which is 10 times higher than at the healthiest place on the surface of the planet. Yes.
I noticed in the tunnels that there are an incredible amount of orbs, according to some of the videos that I saw.
Yes.
Very, very interested in these because there's a fellow by the name of Paul Muir from England who's done extensive work with the orb energies, and he views them as primary building blocks of just about everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, the orbs are light beings, energy beings, and our experience with them in the last 9 years while we've been cleaning the tunnels is that it seems they use the space as a home. They are very joyful. They usually move where there is some action. And we got nothing but good experience with orbs. And we can't see them by naked eye, but we can see them through our cameras. It seems that the frequency of our cameras today is just good enough to get the frequency of the orbs also. But let me finish what I mentioned a few minutes ago about the healing aspects. When we live on the surface of our planet, there are a lot of cosmic radiation. Some of the radiation are very harmful for us. Well, in the tunnels 80 feet below the ground, there are no cosmic radiation. There is no natural radioactivity. So our body cells don't have enemies when they enter the tunnel. So without the cosmic radiation, without natural radioactivity, with a very high negative ionization, this is extremely safe environment. So our body cells can start doing their job. What is their job? To fix the problems in our bodies, to start the self-healing process, to start the regeneration process. And then we realized that one of the major functions of underground labyrinth was actually to save, to protect what is the most important for us, and that is our health.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Dr. Sam, this health improvement, it seems to be universal. All the volunteers and workers feel it?
Well, we have done a medical study. One of them was measuring the aura, the bioenergy field around our bodies before they enter the tunnels and after they come back. We did a study in 2011, 2012, 109 people, male, female, old and young, and the volunteers, workers, visitors, media, and the results were very good. More than 85% of the cases had an aura improvement. And the biggest aura improvement was in the case of one student from Zagreb, Croatia, and he was the only one where we explained him what we were doing. So what he did while he was in the tunnel, he was meditating for about 45 minutes, he came back, and his aura improvement was about 40%. But we had so many interesting cases. For example, a couple of months back, we had a tennis player from Czech Republic who had a pain in his hand and he couldn't get rid of it. He went to different therapies and doctors. Nothing until he came to our tunnels. After just one visit to 1.5 hours, the pain was gone. And I talked to him a few months back, and he said that the pain was still gone and it was not coming back. So it really means that with one visit only, you start the initial process in your body, the self-healing process. And this is very important because it can tell us, hey, instead of using drugs and pills and helping our pharmaceutical industry to poison us some more, we have some other ways to fix our health problems.
Dr. Sam, have you heard of the idea of earthing? Do you know where people walk barefooted or,
Yes,
get in contact? Do you think
Yes.
that there's anything like that? It's the body's electrical system being in touch with the earth?
Well, it is rather logical idea. I mean, if you are barefooted and you have direct contact with the planet, the problem arises if this planet is becoming so poisonous because of our civilization, and if our planet starts resonating not at 7.83 anymore, not at the best frequency possible, but at 15 or 16 hertz, then the earthing does not make sense anymore, because then you are getting this bad vibration of our planet. And this is very unfortunate, because what we have been doing to our planet is just a shame. And if we continue like this, our planet will get rid of us very soon. And the good thing is that it can all be measured. In our case, the electromagnetism, the negative ionization, the ultrasound, electricity, all these things can be measured. And then we can compare them to the state when our planet was healthy. And like I said, the best frequency for our planet is 7.83. And it seems only in the case of Bosnian pyramid, and I wish that more investigation was done on other pyramids in Egypt, Mexico, China, Peru, and other places. It would be interesting to see what is the frequency in or around those pyramids also.
How wide does the effect reach out? I mean, if you're a mile away from the pyramids, do you feel better? Do you know if there's...
Originally, I think that the effect should be felt hundreds of miles, but not anymore. The pyramids do not work as during the original times. I know in the case of Bosnian pyramids, we've been trying to find the sources of a different energy phenomena. For example, for the electromagnetism, we can see that, you know, on the top of the Sun pyramid is this energy beam, electromagnetic in nature. Now, the pyramid does not make energy from nothing. You have to have a source of the energy. And the 3 labs from Croatia, Serbia, and Austria told us that the source of our electromagnetism was 1.3 miles below the pyramid. It was a huge iron plate or iron ore. Why iron? Because iron generates its own electromagnetic field. What the pyramid does, it sucks this energy, amplifying it. How do we know that the pyramid amplifies the energy? 2 of our Russian colleagues, Professors Kavroshkin and Tsiplakov from the Schmidt Institute from Moscow, measured the strength of the signal at the bottom and at the top of the pyramid. At the top, in Egypt and in Bosnia, the signal was 50 times stronger. It meant that something is happening inside the pyramid that amplifies this energy. And we know what. In the case of Bosnian pyramid, there is a network of tunnels on 7 different levels, anywhere from 15 feet to 1,000 feet deep. And those passageways, those tunnels, are laid out like a spiral. So this energy is coming from, underground. It's going through the 7 different levels of passageways, and then, spinning by spinning, it's getting stronger, it gets amplified, and then go through the very top of the pyramid. But talking about this energy beam on the top, there is another very intriguing thing. We measured the strength of the signal on the top of the pyramid, then 10 feet higher, and another 10 feet higher. Every time we lift this antenna, we realized that the strength was stronger and stronger. The signal was stronger and stronger. Now, the physicists could not really explain that. They were saying, well, our technology is based on the fact that closer to the source of the energy, the signal is stronger. You move away, the signal is getting weaker and weaker. And let's call this Hertzian technology. But in the case of Bosnian pyramids, the result is opposite. You move away from the pyramid, and the signal was getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So let's call this non-Hertzian phenomena. In 21st century, we do not have technology which is based on non-Hertzian phenomena. But the guy who was experimenting with this technology, and he was born just 250 miles to the west from Bosnian pyramids. He was experimenting in his lab in Colorado Springs with this type of technology in 1899 and 1900, and his name was Nikola Tesla. Tesla invented a transformer, which is known today as Tesla's coil, and he was able to send signals from one end of his lab wirelessly to the other lab 55 feet away. And then he was able to light up a light bulb, which was burned. And just before they are going to burn down his lab, because his work was becoming a threat to the mainstream science, he did the last experiment. He sent a signal, an energy beam from his lab to the ionosphere around our planet. And this signal reflected, it was coming back to the Earth, much stronger, non-Hertzian phenomena. And then he was able to light up 10,000 homes in Colorado Springs. So for the first time, one scientist from our civilization cycle has proven that clean energy was possible, that unlimited sources of energy were possible, that wireless transportation of energy was possible, that the non-Hertzian phenomenon was possible, and finally that free energy was possible. Have American corporations accepted this invention? Of course not. How would JP Morgan make money selling the free energy? So instead, he cut the funds for Tesla and with his colleagues started investing a lot of money to very expensive hydro, thermal, nowadays nuclear power plants, building, again, very expensive transformers and power lines, losing 20 to 50% of the energy during the transportation so they can sell it to us, end users, for a lot of money. And this is what we call the profit economy. But one day, and that day will come, we will all enjoy the benefits of the free energy. And that will be the first pillar of the free society. And the second one will be the free flow of knowledge. Instead of going to the elites, the knowledge should be coming to all of us. And based on those two pillars, we should have a society of free women and free men.
Dr. Sam, I got a question here. Do you think Tesla got any of his inspiration from that area? Had there been rumors, for example, of a past civilization with pyramids or anything like that?
I don't see a direct connection. Tesla has not mentioned the pyramids in his work, but I think that we are all coming to the universal things like free energy, ancient technology, pyramids. What I can see in my work is that not only that the pyramids were built all over the planet, but also that the oldest pyramids are at the same time the biggest and the most superior, meaning that that knowledge has been brought to the civilizations from China and Peru, Bosnia, Egypt, and other places. So these are very interesting stuff, which tells us at least that we either had very advanced civilizations of humans in the past, and that the history is not the evolution, but cycle after cycle after cycle, or the knowledge has been brought from somewhere else. But it is always about the energy, because the pyramids are the most powerful geometrical shapes when it comes to the energy. Also powerful shapes are the conical shape, that's why we have so many tumulus phenomena around the world, and spherical shapes, that's why we have so many stone balls around the world. So it was always about the energy. Just on the conceptual level, we are much more primitive. What we do, we use coal, dirty industry, oil and gas, limited sources, power lines, very bad for our health, and losing the energy during the transportation. The ancients were using existing natural sources, and that's why the location of the pyramids was so important.
Dr. Sam, I had a different question. Yeah, you probably may have answered this elsewhere, but have there been any human remains found either in the tunnels or that might be associated with the pyramid or a culture nearby that would give us some information on the people themselves?
We have not found any bones, any skulls, any human remains so far in the tunnels or on the pyramids. However, it's been 9 years since we started this project, and as you know, in archaeology, 9 years is not a very long period of time. Egyptology has been around for 200 years, and in reality, we still don't know who really built the biggest pyramids in Egypt, Giza pyramids, Cheops, Khafre, Mycere, Sneferu, Djosers. We don't know technology they used. We don't really know when they were built or what was their purpose. So after 200 years, most of the questions remain unanswered in Egypt. And I think thanks to our interdisciplinary scientific approach, we are getting some answers in the case of Bosnian pyramids being huge energy machines.
Okay. The other question I have actually concerns, I saw a little bit of a video with a bunch of really interesting artifacts. And I was curious because I know that there have been pottery and evidence of weaving found in Czechoslovakia from around the same time period, about 28 to 24,000 years ago. And I just wondered if, for one thing, like as a weaver, I'm just curious, had you found any tools that have an evidence of weaving or pottery making? You mentioned the kilns, possibly for the concrete. And also, is there any possible similarity, or has anyone had a chance to even look to see if some of the things from, I can't pronounce it, but it's Dolny, Vestonice, the site in Czechoslovakia, between that site and the culture in Bosnia? Or is that just something no one's had time to look at yet?
According to the new science called anthropological genetics, we know the migrations and the age of all nations in Europe. The oldest people in Europe are the Basques in Spain and southern France, about 55,000 years. The second oldest cultural oasis is the Central Balkan, 38,000 years of presence of intelligent man. The third oldest, Ukraine, about 28,000. So in the Central Europe, in the Balkan area, we got the presence of Homo sapiens sapiens for 38,000 years. When it comes to the age of the tunnels, we are getting, after 9 different radiocarbon dating, we are getting consistency from 21 to 34,000 years. So we are going back tens of thousands of years back. Now, as far as the artifacts, we are finding very interesting, for example, work of art made in granite. We are finding pieces with several, like 4 or 5 common features. We are finding some other artifacts that fit perfectly in human hands, so they are ergonomic in design. We are finding like a sandstone foot with the 5 toes, which could be used as a mold. We are finding blocks with certain carvings that they have been covered by conglomerate over 21,000 years. So we are finding a lot of interesting stuff that tell us that there were presence of intelligent mans there. Now, were they pyramid builders or tunnel builders? We are not quite sure yet. But the fact that we are finding in this period from 21 to 34,000 years so many interesting artifacts, so many different cultural layers is rather sensational. Because as you know, the scientists before thought that until 5,000–6,000 years ago in Europe was only the presence of primitive cavemen.
Thank you. I saw that one piece of what looked like stone carved as a mold for possibly metalwork of some kind, and I really wondered what the date was on that, what the strata, the ground around it had been, because I know you can't really date stone very easily. And also, if any, has any of the pottery been dated? Because I saw pieces of pottery in that film as well.
We are finding some. Usually it is 4,000 to 8,000 years.
So that would be the second civilization you think was probably using the tunnels.
It was one of them. Most probably we have at least 4 different civilizations in the tunnels, because the first one would be the one that had the ability to make those huge ceramic blocks. The second one, the tunnel builders. The third one, those who sealed off all these tunnels. The fourth one, we are finding some carvings in at the beginning of the tunnels. So at least 4 cultural layers, I would say, at this point in time.
And finally, in this segment, I believe that you had pieces, there were things that looked like it might be writing. Can you say anything about that?
Yes, we have found actually several different writings or symbols. Some of them we are finding on those big ceramic blocks, and in most cases it looks like a combination of the geometry and the letters. And of course the most famous one is the Runic symbols or runes. And when we try to decipher some of our symbols, the 4 most common expressions were God, ice, water, and joy. But now imagine the concept of God thousands and thousands of years back. And yes, that was rather interesting. But then we are finding on some stones also carved symbols. And they look more like a proto-Sanskrit, which is, of course, from India 4,000 or 5,000 years back. But this one is, again, over 21,000 years. So I would say the biggest discoveries are still in front of us.
Is there some place that people could look and see these runes? I'd be very curious as a rune reader of Scandinavian runes to see if these are some of the same symbols, some of which we know are pretty ancient, some of which we think were taken from the Latin alphabet.
Right. Well, there are two official websites belonging to our foundation. The first one is Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun.com, Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun.com, and that's the one that brings daily news, discoveries, and so on. And the second one is our scientific conference that we have every September, first week in September. So far we have had 4 scientific conferences, and the site address is icbp.ba, icbp.ba. So a lot of articles from the conference participants are on this site.
Thank you very much. I'll be sure to look into that later.
Okay, thank you.
Doc, I've got a question here. The artifacts or things that you can find, like writing, do you see any similarities with other pyramids that we know of?
Well, a lot of politics when it comes to the pyramids. What they've been teaching us about the Egyptian pyramids is that they were built by the pharaohs of the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and so on dynasty, and that they were used as tombs for pharaohs. However, you go to the biggest Egyptian pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Egypt, there is no mummy of the pharaoh Khufu. You go to second biggest one, no mummy of pharaoh Khafre, or Myceren, or Sneferu, or the others. As a matter of fact, there is no royal furniture. There is no hieroglyphic writings on the walls, no symbols, no tools, not a single proof who really and when, how, and why built those pyramids. So really, you don't have artifacts that belong to the original builders. And when we think more about the Egyptian pyramids, not only that they are not only just 4,500 years old, it seems that they are much, much older. At the Giza Plateau, we can see a lot of shells, and those shells are from the last flood. The last flood there was 12,000 years ago when the Mediterranean flooded 300 kilometers in the continent. When the Ottomans came 1,000 years ago, and when they broke in the Great Pyramid, they found salt and shells also, meaning that those structures were already there during the last flood, 12,000 plus years ago. So now we need to change in our perception that actually the biggest Egyptian pyramids are not built during the pharaonic time, but much, much before that. So we don't find artifacts belonging to the original builders. The second case, also the best known, is Teotihuacan in Mexico. That's the biggest city of pyramids. In Mesoamerica, you have 3 big pyramids, Sun, Moon, Quetzalcoatl, 600 smaller ones, and that's just 20% of the original size of the city. The mainstream scientists are telling us that it was built by Teotihuacanos 2,200 years ago, and they based that on nothing. Teotihuacan is the name came from Aztecs in the 13th century. On their Nahuatl language, Teotihuacan means place where people became gods. But Aztecs had nothing to do with this beautiful city of pyramids. And now, without the knowledge who really built it, our scientists said, oh, it was built by Teotihuacanos 2,300 years ago. No proofs. Again, no organic material, no tools, not a single artifact belonging to the original builders. So those 2 examples are telling us how they have been manipulating with the history. You know, they simply come up with certain ideas, they put them in the history books, and then they teach generations and generations about those non-existing pyramid builders. So we need to get scientific answers. Who were the real builders? The third case, we go to China. In China, 250 pyramids, 20 big ones, superior, oldest, made from granite and sandstone blocks. The Chinese government does not want their archaeologists to investigate them, but this is what they confirmed me a few years back. But they have smaller ones, built from the mud brick. And they do belong to very concrete Chinese emperors, from Emperor Qin 2,300 years ago until 1,000 before present. They do investigate those. Why they don't investigate the biggest one? Because they will need to change their history. They are over 12,000 years old. So we see that a lot of politics in the pyramid business. And I would say that the case of Bosnian pyramids is the only open case for the public, ever. The biggest secrets we will discover here, but we will share them with the world.
Wow. Let's hope we can break some of the mind control. One question is, you probably know about Christopher Dunn measuring the precision in various things in Egypt or Bolivia. Has any of that been done in Bosnia? Is there anything that would be useful for?
Well, Chris Dunn, of course, is the best known for his book, The Giza Power Plant, in which he has theoretically proven that the biggest Egyptian pyramid was actually used as the power plant and a huge energy machine. And that's what we have proven in our case, both theoretically and practically. Chris Dunn was in Bosnia. He came here during the winter. He visited the tunnels. He said they are very intriguing. He doesn't know how to answer how they were built and who built them. And he's a very interesting man because it tells us that we have to have independent researchers showing that places like Egyptian pyramids, but not only the pyramids, but also some of the huge statues were used, were built using some type of laser technology that ancient Egyptians did not have. The same thing in Bolivia, using very simple instruments. He's showing that it would take machines, it would take a laser to build those huge structures in Bolivia. So people like him are very important because they are not afraid to tell what they really think. They're not afraid to tell that more advanced civilizations did exist in ancient past.
Has anyone tried, this is of course on the far outside, has anyone tried psychic means? You know how psychics can take a stone that somebody or an object that somebody wore as a ring and gained impressions, things like that, remote viewing and stuff like that. Has anybody done that you know of?
Yes, me.
Good. How did it go?
Well, I think that the future of science is in the combination of the physical and spiritual science. The problem with the physical science today is when the scientist comes to the wall, he doesn't know what to do next because he doesn't have creativity. He should be getting hints from the spiritual science. But when it comes to spiritual science, the problem is that it is not a science yet. We do not have scientific methodology applied. For example, there is something that you probably heard so many people channeling the information. So you can hear information, let's say, about your life and about the life of your nation, about reincarnation. So basically you take it or you leave it. It would be nice to find a way to verify those information. So this is what I did. I spoke to 6 persons that are commonly known as Akashic record readers. Akasha or Akashic records, that's a notion for a few hundred years now that in a spiritual realm there is a library, there is a knowledge about our planet, past and the future, and about the whole universe, past and the future. So some people claim that they can tap into this vast knowledge. So what I did, I spoke to 6 Akashic record readers, but I did apply scientific protocols. I made a presentation of 30 different archaeological sites, very well known, like Machu Picchu in Peru, Göbekli Tepe in eastern Turkey, or the pyramids in China, Egypt, Mexico, or Bosnia. So I would just ask them the same question. Can you tell me more about the age, builders, origin, and purpose of those structures? So not too much, but still I would show them the photographs of the places. So I spoke to 6 of them at 6 different times. They did not know for each other. They did not know me. They did not know what I was going to ask them. So the idea was to get 6 answers and then to compare them and see how much authenticity you have in those answers. Originally, I was thinking, well, if there is such a thing like Akashic records, like this spiritual library, then I should be getting always 6 same answers. Well, it did not happen. I was getting answers, but they were not the same. But then on the other side, it seemed to me, if I read them carefully, it looks like that they do belong to the same concept. They are like little photographs of the big pictures, like little mosaic, I would say. For example, when I was asking them questions about the Bosnian pyramids, in 2010, before we started with the energy measurements, all 6 Akashic record readers were telling me about the energy beams. Some of them energy beams going up, some of them energy beams going down through the center of our planet and then going out on the other side of the planet. Some of them were telling me about the beings in those underground tunnels. They were telling me that we are going to come under the pyramid and find huge holes, underground lakes with a supercharged water. So they were giving me a lot of interesting material, and in the meantime, we were able to verify some of those materials. So I would say, when you ask me the question about the spiritual stuff, I would say that it is important to have this dimension as a hint, but we need to use a scientific methodology and scientific instruments in order to prove things like this.
Oh, for sure, for sure. It's just something that, if nothing else, can give us some hints. You know, a lot of archaeologists have talked about how they got their best work from hints, right, or a dream.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
And so a dream to me sounds kind of like it's coming from that nether world. so I think we should keep that in mind. By the way, Doc, you mentioned the pyramids in China. I just happened to be reading a book a couple days ago about a guy who's a longtime researcher in the hemisync technology, which is from the Monroe Institute, if you're familiar with them. And off the southern coast of Japan, the big island there of Kyushu, there's a small island called Yakushima that's very small, but it goes to 2,000 meters in height quickly. And very few people live there, but it used to be considered like a key island in the legendary kingdom of the past a couple thousand years ago. Anyway, he went there and showed some photos of a mountain that's very hard to get to, but he felt that it was essentially an ancient pyramid that had turned into a mountain over the last X number of thousands of years. Total speculation, but looking at the photos of it, that's what it did look like to me. It looked like it's a man-made mountain.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is, from that island, then you go down to Yonaguni, and you just get into this question of pyramids being all over the earth.
Yes, first of all, Robert Monroe and his institute has done very important work for the humanity, and I wish that more knowledge has been commercialized, and I know it's coming to the surface, and we will all benefit out of that. The Chinese pyramids. China is a huge country with a lot of secrets and mysteries. Only about the pyramids, we know about 250 of them. And the fact that the oldest are over 12,000 years. Another fact that the Chinese archaeologist in 1967, when he had a speech at the conference in Japan, he was telling about some of the clay tablets with some type of hieroglyphic symbols, which he partially deciphered. And he said that the age is over 12,000 years, and it seems that the builders were not of this planet. They had some type of a cosmic accident. And of course, when the poor guy came back to China in 1967, they put him into the mental hospital and nobody heard about him anymore. I mean, 1967, the first year of the famous Chinese Cultural Revolution, if you had the opinion different than mainstream science, you would not have a good time. But I think that mysteries are slowly resurfacing, even in China, and they are doing more and more archaeological research, and the world will be shocked over a few decades when hear what exactly is there. The same thing with Japan, Yonaguni monuments. It's not just one little town under the water, it is 13 underwater cities between Yonaguni, the Japanese island, and Taiwan and the mainland China. In this triangle, 13 cities, 500 kilometers of white roads connecting them. So obviously, they are telling us about very advanced civilization from the distant past. They were able to shape megalithic blocks, to build stone temples and stone cities, pyramidal structures. And it is shame that the Japanese scientists, backed with the German and some of the American, are saying it is all natural, including people like Dr. Schock and the others. What is their problem? Why do they simply admit that we did have very advanced civilizations in the past and we can learn so much from them?
Well, the problem is people work at universities.
I know everything is based on fear, but then it is up to us to organize this society a little bit differently. We need to remove fear from our life in educational, institutions, media, corporate world, in our daily life. In order to do that, if we learn from the ancients, then we would realize, hey, our most basic fear, the fear from death, and all others are coming from this one. But we could learn that in the ancient past, people knew that besides our physical body, which was for one use only, we had our spiritual body, our soul, which was eternal. So if it is eternal, why should we fear of anything? Fear of losing the jobs, fear of losing the loved ones, fear of losing the money. It's irrelevant. No place for fear anymore. So once we learn that, then we can organize ourselves a little bit differently. Why would we need all those elites, political, religious, corporate, to run our life? So I think that the knowledge from the past can help us change our future for better.
Well, let's conquer the fear. And some people speculate that the bad guys kind of feed off of our fear, that that's the way they like to organize the whole planet, is to keep us in a constant state of worry and fear.
Yes, and this is very logical hypothesis, because last 8,000 years from Sumerians and Babylon is actually the history of wars, 15,000 wars, violence, so much of negative energy. And it's always about the energy. In our case, when we need energy, we go and kill the animal, and we are getting the most primitive source of energy. For some other, obviously our negative energy that we produce is the source of their energy, and they were much smarter. But unfortunately, we are just used there as a part of a big experiment. But that's probably,
exactly.
But it's
exactly.
a topic for some
That's
other
a different topic. But Dr. Sam, I have one other question for you. You have at the Bosnian pyramids, there are volunteer efforts in the summer, and then you go there and give different speeches and tours and things like that. Could you tell us a little bit about these things so that people can actually go? I myself plan or want to go. So what could you tell us?
Well, archaeology is very conservative science. You cannot just go to Egypt or Mexico or China and start digging the pyramids. You have to be a politically correct professional. But we said in the case of Bosnian pyramids, that will not be the case. We have opened the project for non-professionals, for all good intentional people who wants to come and be active part of history-changing process. In 2010, we had our first international summer camp for volunteers. 500 people came from 30 countries, 6 continents. 2011 from 32 countries. 2012 and 13, 45 and 52 countries. So they are coming from all over the planet, from 8 years to 84 years old. And they stay usually for 2 weeks. That's how long one shift lasts, in between June and September. So we start June 1st, June 14, June 14, June 18, and so on. And during those 8 shifts, we always have 400 or 500 people. First day, we give them archaeological training. I took them, they see the sites, and after that, they start working. On the Sun Pyramid, they help us removing the layers of soil above the concrete blocks. In the tunnels, they help us clean the sealed tunnels, and we have 2 labs. One is lab for stone, another one is a lab for ceramics. They help us clean the artifacts. Then we work on the Moon Pyramid also. Over there we are finding some Neolithic villages, and they are actively part of the whole process. And in September they help us put the museum exhibition together with the artifacts and the new discoveries. So I would say this completely new approach to the archaeology. You give the chance to people who want to be a part of something big, and they are really active part of this process. So 5, 10, 20 years from now, they can tell their kids or their grandkids, hey, I was there at the beginning, I was there, I was removing the soil with my own hands. So I think that such enthusiasm has never been recorded in the world of archaeology, and we are very proud of that fact. So we are open for everyone, no secrets, no elite science, and I think the knowledge belongs to all of us. So that's one of the unique things that we have here in Bosnia.
And you have tours as well, right?
Exactly. We develop what we call archeological tourism. We organize tours to Bosnian pyramid sites, the Sun Pyramid, the Moon Pyramid, underground tunnels, but also a couple of 3 other prehistorical phenomena. The Stone Balls site, then we have megalithic city in southern Bosnia and Herzegovina called Daurson. This year we are organizing 4 tours, and I'm host during those tours. So usually we have some people who do the conference, that do talks, and the guests. So it's real nice to just like a few days back, I had people like Valery Uvarov. He's a pyramid researcher from Russia. Then we had Marko Pogachnik, megalithic researcher from Slovenia. In June, Dr. Harry Oldfield, the guy who's been developing very interesting technology to see bioenergy fields that we cannot see with our naked human eye. In September, we're going to have people like Michael Tellinger, the guy who discovered thousands of megalithic circles in South Africa. Then Klaus Dona from Austria, researcher of the ancient artifacts. So we are getting interesting combination between the volunteers, between those very known independent researchers and the guests. So everyone is welcome, and those tours and the summer camp volunteering can be found on our official website, bosnianpyramidofthesun.com, and everyone is welcome.
Well, I'm certainly interested. Neil, go ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Sam, I have a 2-part question for you. One is, as you explore the tunnels and open them up, do you find that the influence of the tunnels is growing? And on a personal note, how are the energies from the pyramid affecting your own health? And I want to thank you, by the way, for a very, very interesting interview.
The answer to your first question, as we go deeper, we can see that the vibrational level of tunnels is rising. Namely, at the beginning, for example, the concentration of negative ion goes up from 400 to 3,000, 10,000, 25,000, 38,000.
Yes.
The same thing goes with the energy potential. People in the dowsing world express that on a Bowie scale. On a Bowie scale, the human body is about 7,500. If we are tired, 7,000, 6,000. If we are sick, 5,000. If we are very spiritual, 8, 10, 12, 14,000, and so on and so forth. The energy potential of the tunnels goes from 3,000, 5,000, 25,000 to 40,000. Deeper we go, energy potential is rising. So that's the reason why I said the biggest discoveries are still in front of us. And your second question about my personal health, for example, 8, 9 years ago, I would wear glasses, reading glasses. Now I don't wear them anymore because I go to tunnels and the sun pyramid all the time. When we measure the aura, we have noticed while you are in the tunnel system, after the visit, your aura is expanding. But once you go to the sun pyramid, when you are exposed to the sun energy, the cosmic energy, your aura is better and evenly distributed. So when you combine the two, the planetary energies and the cosmic energies, you get the best benefits for your bodies.
That was my point. Are the people in the valley, the more work you do on this pyramid, feeling a difference? You know, is it spreading as we rediscover it, I guess?
The people who are actually working on the archaeological sites in the tunnels, yes, they do feel benefits. And I must tell you this, whenever we are through with our shifts, they got their certificates, they give their little statements, all of them are saying, we are changed people. Something happens to them. They realized that this life is not only the physical, but the combination, the harmony of physical and spiritual. They feel better, they have more smiles on their faces, and they are coming back the following years.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're very welcome.
Well, Dr. Sam, you've done quite a thing there, bringing this out to the public and letting the public get to visit. As you said, it's a rare opportunity for everyone. I guess before we wrap it up, I would kind of wonder, where do you see it going?
Well, this is a project which is not only just another archaeological discovery. It's telling us that almost everything they teach us about the ancient history is wrong. The origin of man, civilizations, and the pyramids. Pyramids, they are built everywhere on the planet. We need to start asking questions about the past. Obviously, those who have been controlling the past have been controlling our present. We need to change that. This project will help doing that. Secondly, it's not only about the cultural establishment trying to stop us, and they've been trying to stop us for 9 years now. Now we're going to be facing even bigger challenges, namely with the energy field and the possibility of free energy. We're going to have problems with the energy lobbies. And with the healing aspects, we're going to have problems with the pharmaceutical lobby. So these are all bases of our civilization. People need to realize that we need to change that if we want to be happy and satisfied. And I think that's one of the main goals. And in order to do that, we need to apply knowledge from the pyramid builders.
Well, Doc, I think on that we can wrap it up. We appreciate your time, appreciate you coming, and we really are looking forward to all the research that's going to come out from there. Are there any books that have been published that people can look for?
Yes, on the website that I gave you, BosnianPyramidOfTheSun.com, there are several books. They can be ordered either through Amazon or as a Kindle version. So, people will be, will have opportunity to buy them, read them, or they simply follow the news on our website. And there are daily news. There are a lot of interesting stuff, always positive news from the pyramid world. And finally, we want to see all of them in Bosnia because their experience will tell them that they are very happy that they come there. And I'm expecting you and your wife, I guess, and you will see why we are so self-confident when we talk about the Bosnian Pyramid Project.
Okay, well, we'll call it a wrap there. And
Thank you for your interest, and God bless.
Thanks, Doc. And Neil and Melody, thank you too. That's it, folks. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.